There's a specific kind of exhaustion that doesn't go away with rest. You can sleep more. You can take time off. You can slow down. And it's still there. Because this kind of exhaustion isn't physical. It comes from constantly solving problems that don't move your life forward. You fix things. You organize things. You handle things. You're always dealing with what's urgent, what's expected, what needs attention right now. And because you're competent, it works. Life stays under control. But control slowly replaces direction. You become very good at managing a life that no longer excites you. Not because you lack ambition, but because all your energy is spent maintaining systems you didn't design. This is why so many capable people feel tired without understanding why. They're not overwhelmed. They're misallocated. This video is about how that happens, and why solving the wrong problems for too long quietly drains your life. Being efficient is usually seen as a virtue. You solve problems quickly. You anticipate issues. You keep things running. And in the beginning, efficiency creates relief. Less chaos. Less stress. More control. But over time, efficiency can quietly turn against you. Because when you're efficient, you inherit more problems. People rely on you. Systems lean on you. Expectations grow. And slowly your roles shift. You stop choosing what deserves your energy. You start reacting to what demands it. Your days become a sequence of small fires to put out. Emails. Meetings. Decisions that feel important in the moment but disappear the next day. Nothing you do is useless. But almost none of it compounds. You're constantly active, but rarely moving forward. And because you're good at this, no one questions it. From the outside, it looks like responsibility. From the inside, it feels like stagnation. This is how capable people end up trapped in lives that are perfectly managed and deeply unsatisfying. Not because they chose the wrong job, but because efficiency replaced intention. Here's something most people never stop to question. Solving problems feels like moving forward. You fix what's broken. You unblock what's stuck. You make things work again. And in the short term, that feeling is real. Problems disappear. Tension drops. Life feels under control. But there's a hidden trap here. Most problems you solve are not building your future. They're preserving your present. You're maintaining systems, expectations, and structures that already exist. And because you're competent, those systems never collapse. They keep demanding attention. They keep pulling you back in. They keep you busy enough to postpone deeper questions. Questions like, where is this actually going? What am I building that will still matter in 5 years? What would break if I stopped fixing everything? The more problems you solve inside a structure you don't control, the more essential you become to it. And the more essential you become, the less room you have to step back and redesign your role. This is why so many capable people feel like they're always catching up, but never arriving. They're running inside a loop where effort creates temporary relief, not long-term movement. And because each problem feels legitimate on its own, it takes years to notice the pattern. Not everything that demands your intelligence deserves your life energy. There's a reason this way of living feels so draining. When your days are built around reaction, your mind never rests. You're always responding. To emails. To demands. To problems that suddenly become urgent. Even when nothing dramatic is happening, your attention is fragmented. You don't feel overwhelmed in a classic sense. You feel mentally scattered. Because reacting prevents integration. You don't get long stretches of thought. You don't get space to connect ideas. You don't get time to ask what actually matters. Instead, your intelligence is constantly being used tactically. Solve this. Handle that. Fix the next thing. Over time, this creates a very specific kind of dissatisfaction. You start feeling like your potential is being used, but not expressed. You're useful, but not fulfilled. Capable, but not directional. And the most dangerous part is that this state becomes normal. You stop expecting depth from your work. You stop expecting coherence from your life. You lower the bar without realizing it. This is how people end up successful on paper, but disconnected internally. Not because they lack meaning, but because meaning requires intention, and intention requires space. And space is the first thing reaction steals from you. At some point, you have to notice something fundamental. Your life is full of solutions, but short on decisions. You decide how to handle things. You decide how to optimize routines. You decide how to manage expectations. But you rarely decide where all this effort is actually pointing. Problem solving keeps you busy. Direction setting requires stopping. And stopping feels uncomfortable for people like you. When you pause, there's no immediate task to complete. No clear metric to improve. No visible win. So you keep solving. But here's the distinction that changes everything. Problems exist inside a direction. Direction exists outside of problems. If you never step outside the problem layer, you can solve endlessly and still go nowhere. This is why clarity feels rare. It doesn't come from answers. It comes from elimination. Eliminating paths that don't compound. Eliminating commitments that absorb energy without return. Eliminating roles that keep you reactive by design. This doesn't mean quitting your life. It means finally deciding what your life is for. Once direction becomes explicit, problems change character. Some stop mattering. Some lose urgency. Some reveal themselves as noise. And that alone can reduce more exhaustion than any productivity system ever will. There's a quiet shift that happens when you stop treating every problem as equally important. You realize that most exhaustion doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing too much of what doesn't matter. When direction becomes clearer, something interesting happens. You don't magically get more time. You don't suddenly feel motivated all the time. But your energy stops leaking. You begin to notice which problems are structural and which are just noise. Which responsibilities are chosen and which are inherited. Which efforts build something and which only keep things from falling apart. This is not about becoming careless. It's about becoming selective. And that's uncomfortable for responsible people. Because saying no feels wrong at first. Letting things break feels irresponsible. Stepping back feels like failure. But clarity changes that framing. You're no longer avoiding problems. You're choosing which ones deserve your life. And here's something important. If this way of seeing things resonates with you, it probably means you've been carrying more than you should for a long time. You don't have to comment. You don't have to explain yourself. But leaving a like is a quiet way of saying, "This landed. This describes me." It helps this channel reach the right people. People who are competent, responsible, and tired of solving the wrong problems. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Your exhaustion is not a lack of strength. It's not a lack of discipline. And it's definitely not laziness. It's the result of spending years directing intelligence and effort toward problems that don't deserve that level of attention. You didn't do anything wrong. You became very good at operating inside systems that reward reaction, not direction. And those systems are subtle. They don't trap you with force. They trap you with usefulness. As long as you're solving problems, fixing things, keeping everything running, life feels productive. But productivity without direction quietly drains meaning. This channel is not about escaping responsibility. It's about choosing it consciously. About stepping back far enough to see what your effort is actually building. And what it's merely sustaining out of habit. No urgency. No dramatic moves. No promises. Just clarity. And clarity is uncomfortable at first, because once you see what's been draining you, you can't pretend you didn't. If this video felt precise, if it describes something you've never quite put into words, subscribe. Not because everything will change, but because once you stop solving the wrong problems, even small decisions start pointing somewhere better.